Hey everyone, today I'll be taking a look at my shelf of shame. So these are all the games that I've acquired over the last months and years, but have still been unable to get to the table because they always get pushed back. I try to do one of these videos every 6 months or so, just to give you an idea about what is still sitting here, and just to give you a rough idea about what's coming up for review, etc. I've got more games than I'd like, of course, on this shelf, but let's take a look through them. So the first one I have here is Shipyard. So this is an older Vladimir Suki game, and out of all the older games here, this one is definitely at the top of my priority to get played, just purely out of my own desire because this game looks fantastic. The rules haven't been digested as I would have liked because I was expecting it to be a little bit lighter than it is because it is quite involved, but it's basically like a rondel within a rondel game, and I generally love Suki games, and this is considered one of his best, and it's quite difficult to get hold of, so I am really anticipating to get that one played. I have Speculation here. I've talked about some of these games recently on my board game buys, and Speculation is quite a recent acquisition. A pretty light kind of stock market style game. We have Archipelago. So this is basically like a semi-co-op Euro with hidden objectives, but I believe you are somewhat invested in other people's objectives, so you have to kind of guess what they're doing so that you can piggyback off their actions. We have the expansion to Viceroy, and that one's still in shrink there, not had a look at those different modules. We have Anachrony. So this game has been massively recommended to me over the last year or so because, you guys got a good idea of my tastes and you think I should have given this one a try. I am really desperate to get this one played, but unfortunately it just hasn't broken through yet. But it is certainly, again, on the top end of that priority list. Kind of a worker placement game with this time travel mechanism that sounds pretty damn interesting. We have Quo Vadis, which is an older Reiner Knizia game, which, believe it or not, was actually just reprinted or re-implemented with Zoo Vadis. I had no idea that was coming out, and I only actually acquired this one like last month or so that was pure off chance that was getting reprinted, and I had no idea. This one's got the old kind of Roman theme, whereas the new one has more of a anthropomorphic animal theme. But this is like a negotiation style game, and one that works a bit differently than other things. But yeah, moving on, we have Ulm. So this is like a mid-weight Euro with this kind of cool action selection system based on this grid on sliding bunch of tiles. It looks cool, it looks pretty well-rounded, so hopefully it will be good. The same applies to Murano, a game that's been recommended to me a lot over the years. This is a Inca and Marcus brand game. Tile placement. It looks pretty cool. Some different kind of mechanisms in there, including a rondel. So yeah, Murano looks like it's going to be a solid game when I finally get it played. We have the Golden Ages, which is a lighter Civ style game. I don't know too much about it. I got this one for dirt cheap and I decided to take a punt on it just based on the artwork and stuff. So I love the way that one looks. And we have the original Brussels 1893. So this one is actually getting reprinted this year, I believe, with the expansion in the core box. But I've played the card game of Brussels, but I've not played the main board game. But some cool, unique mechanisms that look like they'll be right up my alley in terms of this kind of market system where things of value are going to change based on this grid. It looks really cool, and I'm looking forward to getting that one played, but sadly it's just not, again, another one that's not broken through. We've got some smaller games here on top. A very nice puzzle here sent to me by some company. With this tiger face, that looks pretty cool. So these here I've already talked about recently on my board game buys, sent to me by Hachette. Demeter and Varuna, pretty heavy roll and write style games, or that uses cards, quite a lot going on there. Don't know much more than that. And we have Rapido, which is the re-implementation of Reiner Knizia's Escape, a dice game that's based on the push-you-like mechanism that's supposed to be really good. I shouldn't imagine these will be too long before I get these played and reviewed because they're smaller games, and certainly it's less onerous to get those to the table. And we have Quest. So I'm a huge fan of the Resistance Avalon, and this is like the updated version of it. Really cool artwork here. And it basically kind of streamlines the system, but it also adds in a lot of other roles. Not really had the chance to get them to the table because having bigger player count games is becoming a more rare occasion for me. We have Tags, a simple kind of, I think it's like a trivia style party game based on word association. A few smaller ones here as well. We've got the expansion to Seven Wonders Duel. This is the Agora one. I've played the other one and I liked it. This one I've not had too much of a look at, but what I do know, it actually looks better than the other one for me, but we shall see. I've not played it yet. Another couple lighter party games here with Doppelganger and What the Actual Factual. These look a bit, more of a mass market, silly party games, but, who knows, they could be good, but I doubt it. We have Masked Men. So this one I actually picked up at pretty much the same time I picked up Scout. Now we know how good Scout is, or personally I think it's fantastic. Really enjoyed that Spiel des Jahres. I think it was even a winner. Loved that one. This one has a similar ladder climbing system, but it's based on these kind of luchador wrestlers, which looks really cool. And this one is considered a bit of a hidden gem for the people who love it. So yeah, hopefully it's as good as Scout. Even if it's half as good, it will still be decent. So that is Masked Men. Behind these games here, I have the original, in fact, the second edition of Game of Thrones. That one's not even really seen the light of day. I would love to get it played one day, but I know it's going to be difficult. I'm considering it does kind of peak at the higher player counts, and it's a pretty heavy, long, involved game. And out of all my friends, I'm pretty much the only one who likes Game of Thrones, so that's going to be a hard sell. But I still wanted it in my collection because I really love the IP. We have Dragon's Gate College. I believe that one is a worker placement style game with dice. Looks on the lighter end of the spectrum. And I believe that was from the older NSKN, who are Board and Dice now. I could be wrong on that, but, I don't know much more than that about it. It was a game that my brother picked up. We have the expansion to Keyflower. This is the Merchants. I've not played Keyflower as much as I would have liked, and I'm certainly not at the point to start introducing expansion content. So that one's just here for a rainy day when I want some additional content for Keyflower, because I do love that game so much. We have two games here that you've probably not heard of. This is Scylla and Amiitis. So these are two games from Istari, and over a year ago now, I ended up buying a kind of a job lot of Istari games, and these were two in there. Two that I didn't know much about because I really wanted some other titles, such as Mirmies. But these ones, generally everything they've put out has been really good, and it's been, definitely to my tastes. So these could be good. I just not had a chance to get them played. We have the Princess of Florence. So this is like I think it's Kramer and Kiesling. It's only for Wolfgang Kramer. Auction style game, tile placement game. That was actually the inspiration to a game called Colosseum, which I had in my collection for a long time. Now I believe the Princess of Florence is getting a reprint this year. So again, that could breathe some life into this game and maybe give me the kind of the kick up the ass to get this one played and get it to the table, because there's going to be a few more eyes on wanting to see that content. We have Vlaada Chvátil's Dungeon Pets. So this one has a really cool theme as you're trying to manage these monsters, I suppose, and raise them from puppies and stuff. So it has this kind of idea where you've got to feed them and clean them out and things. So I love the theme here. And the game is quite involved, so it's quite deceiving. It looks like a lighter, silly game, but it's actually quite an involved worker placement game with quite a lot of fiddly rules. So I have learnt this one a few times and I've already forgot the rules. So hopefully next time I learn them, I'll be able to get to the table quickly. But again, I can say that about any of the games here. So we also have Agra. Agra, one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen, and I've not even played it yet. Another very involved worker placement game. I'm not sure if this one is going to sing for me, because it is really a step above most games in terms of its complexity and just rules heaviness. So maybe now is not the right time, because I am kind of steering towards the lighter games at the moment, or games that are a bit more streamlined. But I'm sure it's cyclical for me. One minute I'm into the lighter games, then the next minute I'm back into my heavier Euros. So Agra is there waiting for me. I got this one for a good price, and it's again a very lavish production and definitely has its fans. So that is Agra. Pretty much the same applies for Cooper Island. This is a capstone game, actually, and I tend to like everything they put out. This one definitely more involved, as I think you're building the island, you're placing these tiles, even overlapping them. Very rules heavy as well, and not even got this one out the shrink yet. But again, I got this one on sale, so it was very affordable, and I do not regret it for a second. Another expansion here. This is the Merchants of the Sea expansion for Terra Mystica. Much like Keyflower, I've not had as much of a chance to explore the content from the base game of Terra Mystica as I would have liked. What I have seen of it, I think it's fantastic. But yeah, definitely not ready to start introducing expansion content. And I'm quite interested to see how the new Terra Nova games going to play out, whether I'm going to lean more towards that one, because it is, I believe, supposed to be a streamlined version of Terra Mystica. So I'll be interested to see what that strips out and whether I'm going to replace it with Terra Nova. So yeah, time will tell. We also have Polis here. You can't quite see it behind the label there. Polis is a 2-player only war game, but with a Euro kind of core to it. You know, you are resource gathering and that kind of thing. So it's not such a conflict heavy game, or at least not purely conflict. And it intrigued me. It looks cool. I tried starting on the rules and I just wasn't quite in the right headspace for it. It's quite heavy. And again, it's my desire to play really heavy games is waning at the moment. We have The Magnificent. This game has kind of had a bit of a resurgence, really, from what I've been seeing from kind of other content creators and stuff. This is a dice, I believe it's dice drafting game by a porter. And the designers here, Eilif Svensson and Christian Ostby. They've made some fantastic games that I've really enjoyed. And this one is, again, I love dice drafting. I love Euros. They've got tile placement in it. It sounds like it could be really good. And I don't think it's supposed to be that heavy. So I will hopefully get that onto the table sooner rather than later. Pergamon, if you can see with the reflection there. This one is a game I've been waiting for quite a while, actually. This is a recent Kickstarter delivery from Eagle Griffin. It is a reprinting of an older game called Pergamon. A simple set collection game with some bidding. Again, I like those mechanisms. And this is by Stefan Dora, a designer I enjoy quite a lot. We have First Contact. This has been on my shelf for God knows how long. When I'm playing bigger grouped games, which I think First Contact relies on, I tend to be going more towards kind of old, dependable games that I know my friends have played many times, so I don't have to teach them anything new. But again, the time will come when First Contact gets off the shelf. Now, Sharts here. Sharts is a game that was sent to me by the designer, and I believe this is getting a wider scale launch at Essen this year. The proper second edition of it, I suppose, version 2.0. This is the first kind of almost like a prototype, but it's a buyable prototype. It's a pretty heavy, involved war game, but again with some Euro elements to it, so something a bit like Polis, I suppose. And I've really wanted to try this one. There's kind of loads of different modes you can play. You can tailor the game, again, the difficulty and complexity to your needs. But the rules with this game are so difficult to learn. I don't think they've been translated properly, which has been a bit of an issue for me. So unfortunately, that's been a bit of a stalling thing for me to get this onto the table. But it looks cool, and I'd love to see the designer, reach some success with this one. I was really hoping to get this one played before Essen this year, so I could, give you guys an impression of how the game plays. But I don't know how it plays because it is that difficult to learn. So that is Sharts Part 1. Now, there are 3 different parts that go together, I believe, in one big game. We have Acquire, which is a classic game from the 60s about stocks and shares, merging companies, that kind of thing. Sounds right up my alley. Always been on my bucket list of economic games to play. So that is Acquire. I'm sure that one won't take too long to get played. And finally here, I've actually played this game. This is Robo Rally. Unfortunately, the box is so big and awkward shape that it doesn't fit anywhere else on my shelves. Just below that shelf there, we have these 3 unplayed games by Watch Your Game. We have Zangwo, Nippon, and Madeira. So I've already played Signoria, which is a fantastic dice drafting game. I tend to like everything they put out. Games such as Vasco da Gama, fantastically designed. And these ones are supposed to be even better. So I believe they're a touch more complex than Signoria, maybe Zangwo being the exception to that. Maybe these are about a bit more equal. Nippon, a step up from that, and Madeira, a step up from that again. Madeira had a bit of a strange Kickstarter campaign recently where I believe the publisher has been unable to fulfill that pledge. But this is the older version of it, which I'm very grateful to have. I did pay kind of a premium for it, but again, I think they're really good designs and I'm kind of a throwback to these classical Euros that you don't see anymore. So yeah, these should technically be up here, but I don't have the space for them, and they look cool together because they're all from the same publisher. So that's it, really. That is all the games that are on my shelf of shame. Hopefully there's something of interest here, and please let me know out of all these games which you're most anticipating. What you would like me to prioritise, because that could certainly shape the way I review these games. Because of course I would like to listen to your thoughts and put out what you want to see. But for everybody else, please be sure to hit like on the video and subscribe to the channel. And and be sure to check out the show's sponsor, Kienda.co.uk. But for everybody else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye bye.